Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, repeal the grocery tax? Also, school choice. What does it really mean? And an Alabama native. His film wins 7 Academy Awards. Why are our leaders not celebrating?
Specifically, my mom and dad, Ken and Becky, thank you for not squashing my creativity when I was making really disturbing horror films or really perverted comedy films or dressing in drag as a kid, which is a threat to nobody.
That could be it. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, columnist and investigative reporter at APR. Welcome.
Hey, guys.
Hey. Josh, Susan, I think we need to applaud Daniel Snyder and his partner, Daniel Kwan, on winning 7 Oscars. Daniel Scheinert is a Alabama native from Birmingham. While Everything, Everywhere, All at Once was not one of our favorite movies, it was absurdist, surreal, and beyond my comprehension. I do think that their accomplishment and being an Alabama native, also Paul Rogers won for editing for that film, is something we should celebrate. Our leaders here in the state, with the exception of Mayor Woodfin, have remained silent on this movie, and I think we all know why. But it's just, we should still celebrate the fact that one of our native Alabamians has accomplished such great heights in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, well, you know, we've celebrated Reuben Studdard, we've celebrated Taylor Hicks, we've celebrated Jamie Johnson, and while I know there may be some things with this movie, it's still Alabama natives at the highest of their career, the highest of the academy.
Yeah. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think we all know why they're not. I mean, we were talking about a public school kid that stood on the Oscar stage, and during his acceptance speech said that drag folks don't endanger anybody. And so I think that at that point, immediately, everybody started towing the company line over on the other side of things, and all of our state leaders are Republicans. And so now it become taboo to congratulate this guy on winning, the film industry's highest prize. And it's a shame, because this is a feel good story. He mentioned a lot of folks from his hometown, some teachers, was wearing a suit that he got at Unclaimed Baggage in Scottsboro.
Up in Scottsboro,
Yeah. So I mean, listen, this was a big win for Alabama. We said the movie was probably not necessarily our favorite of all time. I mean, it's a good movie, but it was, I think it was not meant necessarily for me, or maybe I just didn't get it, and I need to watch it with Daniel or some of the film team so they can explain some of the things that went on with the sausage fingers and the other stuff. But it's still an award-winning movie. It's something that the folks from Alabama should be proud of, but especially the public school folks in Alabama, because he mentioned them extensively in that speech and talked about what a difference they made in his life, and what and how they helped to mold him here, and that's something that we should lean into, I think.
And obviously he loves his parents. He talked about how his mom had supported him with his creative endeavors, and that's where the drag comment came, and that she allowed him to dress in drag as a young boy. And it harmed no one, was his words, and I think that's probably true. But our conservative leaders, Susan, have chosen to ignore this grand accomplishment, and I get it. It wouldn't play well at the Baptist church, I'm sure.
Right, no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't.
But there you go. Some things that happen in the Baptist church don't play well either.
I
but
was
there
going to
you
say,
go.
That's true.
a lot of things going on at churches these days that, you would think folks might be a little worried about. But,
Not saying anything against my fellow Baptists there. It's just some
Well,
things
no,
just go wrong.
not all of anybody are bad. That's just the way life is. And if you're going to throw some stones, you better sweep around your own door.
Yeah.
Well, and I think about, we talk about this word hypocrite. The word hypocrite actually comes from two Greek words, hypokris, which mean actors. And so when we call some of our friends, whether they be religious or politicians, hypocrite, we're saying they're actors. They are putting on a role here.
Yes.
And so some of them are brilliant actors, I would say. I would.
Some miss their calling, it seems. Yeah.
It's true, because they will tell you one thing in private and say the very next breath in front of a camera is totally different.
Yes.
But there you go. That's what
they're
like
acting
unlike
in front of
us,
the camera.
they would have come on here and pretended like they loved the movie. It was their favorite of all time, And I mean,
No.
where we were just kind of honest about it and said we congratulate him. We really appreciate his accomplishment, but maybe, the movie wasn't for us.
Well, and Josh, I have to say that probably Song of the South is a favorite movie among some of our elected officials, and that happy singing slaves that was the way it was back in the day.
God.
Are you saying that's wrong? Because that's what my textbooks taught me in school.
Well, I'm just saying that's probably surreal absurdism as well. I do want to switch over to my favorite
Speaking of surreal absurdism.
hypocrite of the moment. Congressman Gary Palmer, when he ran for Congress, stood on the stage and pledged that he would only serve 5 terms or 10 years. And he then later on signed a pledge, put his name on it to that effect that he would do that. But just recently at a Republican gathering, he was asked about that pledge, and he said, well, Susan, he made that pledge, but since he hadn't asked God about it, he could change his mind, because now he's asked God, and God said that he was needed in Washington. So any pledge that you make now, if you did not consult with God beforehand, you can break.
Right. Well, he said he was led. He was on a stage. Everybody else was doing it. So he felt led to follow what they were doing. And then same
if
thing
only they
with
jumped off a
signing
bridge.
the pledge. Yeah, really. And the same thing with signing the pledge. He felt, he was coerced by people around him and things they were saying. And he hadn't checked with God yet.
So Josh, we got about 30 sequends.
Yeah. I just
So we
gotta tell
can't
you,
believe a
this
word they say.
It angers me to no end. It really does. And not that he's going to break the pledge. I mean, we're used to that. What really angers me is that apparently Gary Palmer has a direct line to God, and this is what he was asking about. I mean, he could have asked who was going to win the NCAA tournament. We could have all made a little cash off of this. But he chose to be selfish as usual and only ask about himself. And as it turns out, God, for the 100th consecutive time, has told somebody to do whatever it is that they wanted to do anyway.
Well, I think that, I just won't say. My mother said, if you have nothing good to say, keep your mouth shut. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. All right, you're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Right now, Alabama legislators have another chance to pass a gaming and lottery bill.
Creating 12,000 jobs.
And over $700 million a year in new funding for the state.
Money for roads and infrastructure.
Education.
Healthcare.
High-speed internet expansion.
And public safety.
It's time to stop leaving money on the table.
It's time to get it done.
Pass.
Pass.
Pass a comprehensive gaming and lottery bill.
There seems to be a new wave of aggressive driving lately.
You see those people, they are the ones that are tailgating other people because they have to get to their destination now.
Weaving in and out of traffic, looks like they could care less about who's around them. There's no one else on the roadway. They're the only one there.
Aggressive driving can be the difference between life and death.
All because somebody thought they needed to be the front of the line and get there first.
Slow down. Don't be the reason that someone else doesn't go home tonight.
My dog Jupiter is frightened when I climb too high. The owl said.
Check for monsters, Daddy.
I did, honey. There are no monsters. You're perfectly safe.
Protect yourself and those you love. Vaccinate now.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Susan, the legislature has been meeting and they have met to pass a $1.6 billion federal funds to allocate those federal funds, the ARPA funds. Primarily, they're going to water, sewer projects, and healthcare, and the expansion of broadband. The only complaints have been that some of the legislature didn't feel like they were informed. And you know what I say? We don't need to inform you on this kind of big decision because you would mess it up. You know, you want smart people in a room saying, this is how we're going to spend the money. We don't want you involved.
Right. There's 2 or 3 out of 145 legislators. I understand 2/3 of the legislature has turned over with this last election, but these funds were pretty much decided on months and months and months ago. And I'm really glad to say that they're going to allocate $400 million to water and sewer projects, which we all know is a desperate need. $339 to healthcare costs, $260 to expand access to broadband, as you said. Another $55 million would, grant community programs. Like your food banks, your senior citizens, housing assistance, summer learning and sports programs for children. I mean, I think these are really, really good investment of those funds in the future of Alabama, regardless of what these 2 or 3 places.
Yeah, I think that, when you look at water and sewage, Josh, that we've got some hellacious places in this state where sewage is run out into the backyard and they don't have potable water. This is a good thing.
Yeah, it is. They need to go through all of those black belt counties where the soil is basically like clay and makes it impossible to run septic systems to a lot of those homes, and they need to run sewer lines. I mean, it's costly. I understand it's costly, but the alternative is exactly what you said: running raw sewage out into a field somewhere, and all sorts of illnesses and things that occur after that. So yeah, listen, I'll tell you what, 2 things. One is it's always funny to me, these people that stomp their feet and talk about how terrible this is, right up to the point where somebody says, okay, look, we'll include this for you. And then they're like, oh, well, they're spending. It seems fine to me, And then the other thing that I do have a bit of a problem with here is, man, we're dishing out a whole lot of money here, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of specifics about how this stuff is going to be doled out by people. We're sending around a lot of money to a lot of places, and I don't know. It just something says there's a little brother-in-law action going to be taking place on the backside of some of this stuff. Well, you know what I mean?
If we had an attorney general who cared.
We have an attorney general?
We do, but he doesn't care about anything but getting his name in print, so fighting Biden. If we had an attorney general that would watch where this money goes, there probably would be some people who would go to jail over this, but since we're not watching, we don't have anybody watching, it won't matter because Steve Marshall is only interested in putting sheriffs and law enforcement in jail. He's not interested in actually putting Republicans in.
He's not actually interested in doing his job.
No.
If some black politicians do something illegal here, you can bet that they'll be arrested with a quickness. But yeah, for the rest of it, you're absolutely right, and it's just I don't know I'm not saying there's anything nefarious happening here. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying. Typically in this state, when you hand out cash without a lot of oversight of it, bad things tend to occur.
Well, it's sort of like the money that we approved for the prisons. It was sort of 600 million and change.
625. It was 625 last week.
Yeah, Josh, they had a meeting this week in which they bumped up the price, right?
Yeah, no, it just 7 people in a room said, you know what, 625 ain't going to cover it. We're going to need 975. We're $1 billion for one prison. And I don't think we have a foundation for it at this point. You know, I'm serious.
Boy.
So I don't think we've got a foundation. We're not supposed to open this thing until 2026, and we've already gone from 625 to 975, and we've all seen it. Hell, we thought they'd stop construction because there was nothing going on out there.
Well, but you know, $500 million here, $500 million there. I mean, come on.
Hell, it's a $4 billion. It's a $4 billion. Not a half. It's a $4 billion.
God,
one prison is a $4 billion, and it's smaller than what we currently have.
But it's going to be luxurious.
No, it's not.
Anyway, I want to talk about something that is actually it could be exciting. You know, for years, people like the organizations like Alabama Rise have been calling to, and Democrats have been calling to do away with the Alabama grocery tax. It does seem like there's movement on that. The Democrats, of course, have come out against it. It looks like Will Ainsworth, Lieutenant Governor Ainsworth, is coming out with a plan. Arthur Orr, of all people, I generally do not agree with Arthur on much of anything, even the time of day, but he has a plan that would reduce the tax on groceries over a 4-year period. It seems like it might be reasonable.
Right, over a 4-year period, and they're going to tie it to things that are covered under WIC, the women and infants and children, stuff like milk, egg, cheese, fruit, certain fruits and vegetables, your breads, like canned tuna and infant formula.
I wonder about how that works out.
There's no reason to do that. There's no reason. You're not replacing any money. You're not taking any money out of this. Okay, you cut the grocery tax. Everybody who was spending that money on groceries, they're going to spend it somewhere else. You're not losing money. It's right. To tie it to WIC, you limit people to such small amount of items. There's no reason to do it like that. I mean, I understand what he's saying. Okay, that this will go immediately to help the poorest people that we have. I get that. Okay, and it's not a bad idea from Arthur Orr. But there's no reason to do it. Just do what Anthony Daniels said. Yeah, try it for a month. See that there's going to be no substantial decrease in tax funds that come out of this thing, and then just implement the thing and move forward. Just do that.
Well, I'm all for cutting the grocery tax because, as we know, the people that need groceries the most are going to spend that money somewhere else. And even people that don't worry about the taxes, they're going to spend that money too.
Right.
I mean, that's just what happens. People save money, they spend money.
You don't pay taxes on groceries. You pay taxes on something else. A candy bar at the grocery, at the 5 and dime.
Well, we don't have 5 and dimes anymore.
No, we don't. I meant to say the gas station.
Gas station. Well, yeah. Got to go to the mini mart, man.
Go on down to the sock hop and get yourself a malt.
Or RC and moon pie.
There you go. Well, we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back for Love at the 5 and Dime.
Throughout my career, I've seen many crashes, and a lot of the fatalities are from people who haven't worn their seatbelt.
Cars have rolled over multiple times. I've had people end up in lakes, ravines. I've been looking for people in the woods for a couple hours before.
Usually just about every bone in their body is broken, their organs have ruptured, and typically they die.
You want to save a life, just simply click a button and put that seatbelt on.
Seatbelts really do save lives.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly.
Lights out.
And put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Speed is one of the biggest factors in a fatal car crash. Your car stops, but your body does not stop at the same time. Your body keeps going, and that could be running into your seatbelt, that could be hitting the airbag. Something has to stop it, and unfortunately, it's something very hard.
There have been times that we've come upon accidents where if people weren't speeding, they'd probably still be alive today.
It's truly dangerous, and it puts everybody at risk.
There's just no point to it.
This kind of stuff has got to stop.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. I was hoping our friend Angie Horn could have been with us today, but she got held up doing other things. And Angie, what? Angie is not scared of the devil.
She's scared of me.
She's certainly not scared of you.
Oh, she's scared. Oh, yeah? Where is she? Is she here? Oh, well, she's not here? That's because she's scared.
But anyway, she's been busy doing her Angie thing.
Yes.
And but there's been some concern that we have all these new members in the House and Senate who are kind of unknown quantities. Now, some of the things I've heard them say, which I find even in Alabama sort of weird, is that some of the new lawmakers, especially in the House, think they have to fight against the establishment. What does that mean?
I don't know.
They don't
It's something they heard on
know.
Fox the other day.
Exactly. They don't have any idea. They think they're going to be one person fighting against 144. Good luck with that.
But I mean, really, I'm serious. There's a group of them that got together and said, well, we're here to fight against the establishment. I mean, they're all conservative. There is no establishment. They're just people that have been there longer, that are smarter, and have more interest in doing what's best for the state.
Yeah.
Bless them.
I mean, this is all
Bless
true. I mean, this is all there. Look, we've talked about this a lot, and the problem is again, I know I tie a lot of things to the gerrymandering in this state, but this is another one of those things. This is something that they ran on in their districts to try to separate themselves out and win a primary. Okay, to say that they were more right wing than these other people. It's nonsense. It's all nonsense. But they have to keep up the facade. They have to continue to present this image of a super conservative, where this other guy who's been in Montgomery too long is somehow the villain.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen to that guy? He's going to end up in the next couple of years squished like a bug, because the Montgomery legislature will roll right over them eventually.
Well, if it becomes too radical.
Exactly.
And too disruptive. I mean, we're already radical. We're already radical right now. In a lot of cases.
Let me ask you this. Will it? Will it though, or have we now gotten to the point in this, because we've so gerrymandered it and we've encouraged this behavior, that it has become somewhat of an accepted norm for some of these crazy people to get into the legislature and do these sorts of things. And I mean, yes, they don't end up in leadership positions. They often have problems, with getting bills passed and getting their things heard. But in terms of making a name for themselves and hanging around, we've all seen a lot of people like this that tend to survive despite being really ridiculous puppets of the far right wing folks, and they manage to hang on and survive even though their district gets nothing from them.
Right. I mean, but the thing is, if you look at Alabama, if you look at the history of Alabama and the governors we elect and the Congress people we elect, they're always moderates. The only non-moderate and they're moderate Republicans. They're conservative, but they're not crazy conservative.
Right.
The only one that we have in our congressional delegation that's an idiot is Barry Moore. But that's because Barry Moore is an idiot. I mean, it's not that,
we also got the guy who was
person.
talking to God last week, so,
Well, but I mean, that you're hearing voices is not unusual in politics. I mean, that's not.
Right. Yeah.
That's not. I mean, he blamed God for him lying. That's it. Basically. I mean, that. But
but you're right. You're right overall in what you're saying. I mean, but the reason for that is that most voters, despite what everybody will tell you and everything about this state, most voters are relatively moderate people. We're a lot closer together on issues, no matter which side of the aisle you sit on. We're a lot closer together on most of these issues than anyone wants you to know. Okay, and if you actually have conversations with people, real conversations, and not right-wing regurgitated talking points or left-wing regurgitated talking points, you come to the realization that we're not far apart on a lot of things.
Right. And the thing is that it's at these Republican clubs where they gather together, and if you want to get elected, you've got to go to the Republican club, and you've got to spew the Republican club line, and you know it gets infected. And then the same thing is true, not by degrees, in every political party, but it's always by degrees. You know what I mean?
But you have an entire quadrennium. Take the first session and learn how the process. Learn where the bathrooms are before you start doing all this stuff and wasting people's time.
Well, I tell you, and I blame the donors, especially corporate donors, that do not vet these candidates as they should before they give them their money. I mean, they just go along because they're good on their issues. Well, they could be good on your issue today, and you know, which Disney was great on Florida's issues until they weren't. And then you have them turning on you where you can't get anything done. I mean, if business fails in Alabama, it'll be because they've allowed these ignorant people to be elected. And that's just, you know, that's just the truth.
They've chased away, you know, good companies that would want to come here and be socially conscious about things.
Right.
You know, somehow or another, diversity and inclusion have become bad words, to the point that we're trying to ban them. And so, I don't know. You're right. I just don't see the end of this because we've gone so far to the right at this point that now they have to keep moving that direction.
Well, you know what? I know this about stuff. If you keep moving farther and farther in one way or the other, you're going to fall off the cliff, and eventually they will fall off the cliff.
And then this pendulum will swing right back in the other direction, like it always does.
But anyway, we got about 30 seconds, and that's probably all this deserves. School choice, Josh. It doesn't mean what they think it means, does it?
No, it never has and never will. It's a money grab for public education that's only going to hurt children. That's all it does. It's only, if you want to fix things, you want to not leave children behind somewhere, fix the public schools that they're in so they're not in a bad public school. That's all you got to do.
All of them, including failing schools.
I mean, it's only a small percentage that are failing schools, but this is, like Josh said, is no more than a money grab.
That's all it is.
To take billions of dollars out of public education and put it into private hands. And this is bad for our children.
Unregulated private hands.
Yep, that's right. Anyway, we're going to have to leave it right there. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.